I have had a very busy week. Busy in recovery. So you are welcomed. You were welcomed. Good morning. It is Thursday morning, January 18th, and my name is Red Moon Eagle, and you are watching Daily Devotions with Red Moon Eagle. I first off want to say I did not post on Tuesday or Wednesday. I didn't even post a backup video. I had a wonderful trip this last weekend. I went down to Boulder and I got to visit family. And I did not calculate as much of the recovery on the emotional side. I had calculated the physiological recovery, but not the psychological recovery. So the last couple days have been full of lots of transmutation of energy. It's been really kind of slow this week with my business, and I have probably about 8 irons in the fire right now with different things. So that's called life. And something that somebody said to me recently is, how do you do all the things you do? You do daily devotions, you see clients, you are working on a couple projects, you're writing some books, you are doing all these other things. She was like, how do you find the time in the day? And I went, well, I time manage. I do lots of transmutation of energy. When I get overwhelmed, I go do something else. I use the timer on my phone a lot. And then sometimes, like this week, I have to leave some things out. And this week, daily devotion in the mornings is kind of what got left out. But I woke up this morning, and as I was doing my own prep for the day, I went, I'm actually in a much better place, and I can do daily devotions today. So that's why I'm back today. And we are in the tide of destruction, which is winter solstice to spring equinox. And I spent a couple hours last week writing about the tides and the wheel of the year. So I will be having blog posts coming out, I believe, in February about these, if I remember my release date. So I'll go look it up and post something. Okay, so today's card is Connect with Crystals in the Sacred Self-Care Oracle Guidebook. Connect with crystals. I am a guardian of the crystals, and I allow their healing energies and ancient wisdom to crystallize in my body. Crystals are living sentient beings. They are keepers of wisdom and light, offering a connection to other realms. You can talk to them out loud or telepathically in waking life, as well as in your dreams and meditations. The journal prompt today is, what crystal do you resonate with or find the most attractive? So I'm going to come back to crystals because that's a really good card for today. Our animal spirit guidebook card is the mouse. Mouse. Detail-oriented, small-minded, nitpicky, nervous. The mouse has an innate desire to tend to the details. It often spends its days fixing, preparing, organizing, and scrutinizing. Unfortunately, a mouse personality doesn't notice when they've gone too far. Soon they begin to have limited and fearful vision of life and try to control every detail. This can be quite a painful experience for both the mouse and those around them. When mouse energy is at play, step back for a moment. It may be time to find a more purposeful project to delve into, one that's worthy of your exacting eye. When in balance, organized, resourceful, and prepared. When out of balance, busy with no purpose, to bring into balance a meaningful project. Okay, and in our Mystic Shaman Oracle card, that card is the Beloved. The Beloved. I love the hands on this one. The essence of the Beloved is the recognition of spirit in another and moving towards spirit through the other. It is when divine appears to us in the form of our child, our partner, our friend, and we experience being in love. As we grow, we start to recognize the beloved in everyone, not confusing their personality with their divine nature. The initiation of the beloved, accept the invitation. The invitation, accept the invitation to learn through the path of love. Expand your being through union with another. When you recognize the beloved in another, you can call forth their highest, purest nature and follow the path of love. The medicine of this card is, be careful with romantic love, the kind of love you fall in and out of. Own all the projections you have placed upon the person you are dreaming of. Remember that they are only mirroring back your own deep longing rather than revealing their true selves. If you fail to notice this, be prepared to walk through fire of strong emotions once again. Okay. So when I read these earlier, a couple things. So crystals. I want to go back to crystals. So this card, at the very beginning, it says, crystals are living sentient beings. And the mantra for this is, I am a guardian of the crystals. I allow their healing energies and ancient wisdom to crystallize in my body. So a really long time ago, when I first started doing energy work on the body, one of the things that I noticed is that the water system in our body has a resonance that is very, very similar to crystals. And I mean crystals in the refraction of how light and energy move through things, I think is the words I'm looking for. There's a resonance within our water body. And I have called that the crystalline water body for a very long time. And I'm kind of careful not to use it with people who aren't like understanding what I mean. And as the years went by and I had the opportunity to start working at a massage school to teach energy medicine. And I started learning about some words and anatomy through the massage school, just because I'm there all the time, I'm learning things. And one of the things that I was fascinated to learn is about the myofascial system and how they talk about the myofascial system. And they talk about the crystalline structure within the skin and within our bodies. And the myofascial system and how it's talked about is very much in alignment with what I have known, and one of the reasons how stones and crystals work in healing. So the journal prompt today is, what crystals do you resonate with and find the most attractive? And it's very interesting because I have had students that have been attracted to the stone that makes them depressed, or they are attracted to the stone that actually keeps them in this energetic place of whirling trauma, right? This emotional trauma place, because the trauma is comfortable because they're used to it and they've been in it for a really long time. So the mantra, I am a guardian of crystals and I allow their healing energies and ancient wisdom to crystallize in my body. One of the things that I tell people is when you're looking how stones feel, right? Sometimes it's not looking for the stone that makes you feel good. Sometimes it's the stone that helps you recognize what's going on with your physical body so that the stone can do its gentle healing. Because stones are very gentle healing, and it's not as aggressive as some other forms of healing. And one of the most amazing things to have done is to go to an energy worker like myself or some other people and have them use stones to gently catalyze that energy moving forward as they're working in your energy field, around your body, and sometimes on your body, depending on what tools they're using. Now, the second card is mouse. And detail-oriented can become very small-minded, very focused, almost obsessive, so you have to be careful. One of the things that I I really saw coming with mouse and crystals is that you have to be careful to understand that crystals and stones and using them in self-work, right? Like you're working on yourself, is to not get caught too much in the details of what this book or that book or this book or that book say, right? Because there's several factors that come into play. One of the things that I've noticed, and I'm going to use my favorite stone right now anyway, sodalite. It's been one of my favorites for many years. I find a great deal of resonance in sodalite, but sodalite only apparently comes from one place in the world. If this has changed, please let me know. But sodalite comes from Canada, and it's a fairly recently discovered stone. I say recent, quote unquote. You can go do your own research on that. And one of the things that I've noticed is that sodalite does not resonate with people that are doing deep ancestral work. If their ancestral connections do not have ancestral connections to the land that go really far back, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So if you have recent, as in the last 10 generations of recent trauma, sodalite doesn't work so well with that if you do not have connections to the land here on earth. So if it's ancestral trauma, but it is like ancestral trauma that is not connected into land, it's like more of an emotional thing, or chemical abuse. Sodalite doesn't work really well on that. It only seems to work when it has to do with throat-heart communication and ancestral healing that has to do with the land. So connection to place, space and place and time. It's a subtlety to how sodalite works. And so there's nowhere anywhere in any book that I've ever read that. This is just something I've noted in my notes going forward working with different stones. So what I tell people a lot is to pay attention to how your body resonates with the medicine of each stone, and getting too caught in the specific details of what the books tell you a stone should be for, even though the symptoms, the signs that the stone is giving you is saying the opposite. Play with your stones, write in your journal, really allow the stones to speak to you and speak through your body. Okay, so now we're going to go on to beloved. Now, one cool thing about beloved is recognition of spirit in another, moving towards spirit through another. When divine appears in us in the form of a child, a partner, our friend, we experience being in love. As we grow, we start to recognize the beloved in everyone, not confusing their personality with their divine nature. So I had an amazing conversation with my partner on our trip. So pulling these three cards together. So my partner is an amazing human being, and we were talking about communication and interpersonal communication with people, and I have had to work really hard on what boundaries look like for me with people, especially people who are going through a lot of emotional stuff or trigger my own past. That's why I have a counselor. But one of the things that has been really hard for me my whole life is recognizing the entity that is in and present behind the person's behavior. So a person's behavior, how their outward appearance is not necessarily who they are. And I've known that my whole life. But it's also really hard to navigate in this world when I want to recognize the entity for who they are and how they resonate, and yet their behavior, their outward appearance, their words, their actions don't match that. So I have had to learn to have boundaries and to pay attention to the combination of what the outward signals are in comparison to what I know who they are as an entity, right? And my partner and I were talking, and we were actually talking about fencing. And there are a couple people in our fencing community that are not healthy. They're not healthy in their outward in life. They're not healthy towards women. They're not healthy towards anything that's outside their paradigm. And I can recognize the entities as entities that one of the entities I thought for a while, there was a huge juxtaposition between the entity that I could see where they were vibrationally and all this other stuff and their behaviors and where they were stuck at. And I was very confused. And so I just kind of put this person off to the side, and I was like, I don't know how to behave with them. And because of their behaviors and their not mannerisms, their behaviors and their outlook, I've said, okay, here's my clear boundary. And something my husband said, my partner said, he was like, I can have a polite conversation with them. I just don't let whatever they say get to me. And I can have a conversation with them. I can be conversing with them and understand that their behaviors are just theirs. And I was like, well, of course. And he said, but you have less tolerance for their behaviors. And he goes, that's why you get frustrated. And I was like, okay, I'll take that as a valid statement. And then this beloved card comes up this morning, and I'm thinking to myself, I can recognize, and I try to recognize the beauty and the amazing entity and their beautiful self, right? Who they really are as an entity. And when their behaviors are in juxtaposition to that, because it has taken me I've been hurt by people really bad, and I'm sure we all have, by people who are our spiritual light self, our loving, beloved self says, I honor you, I honor who you are as an entity. But their behaviors and their disconnection from self or others creates this juxtaposition that can be very hurtful and very painful. And so when this card came up this morning, that conversation came up. And one of the things that I realized when I pulled all these cards out and I was thinking about this interaction I had with my husband, one of the things that came up is that I often wear certain stones in certain environments to help the stones ground me into earth, give me a boost to know what intrinsically the reflection of my loving self toward their loving self and the reflection back is as positive as possible for that person to achieve the optimum growth of that moment, as well as to protect myself. The stone itself doesn't protect me. The stone gives me a boost of energy and harmonizes with my meat suit that is connected to earth, so that whatever's coming at me, whatever that reflection, that not cohesive energy is, helps me navigate through that with a genuine, authentic, intrinsically honoring vibration. And mouse energy allows me to navigate the specificity of what stone helps that, but also not get lost in the fear and the pickiness, right? The nitpickiness of what that person is doing and what they're saying that's irritating me. I try really hard to navigate through situations without holding on to the negativity of that event. And it was very interesting because my husband is very good he's very empathic. And so sometimes he'll see me kind of going down this nitpicky mouse way, especially if I'm struggling to untangle something I don't understand the juxtaposition of, right? The juxtaposition between the entity, beauty, amazingness, light being versus what behaviors I'm seeing and their humanness, right? Their humanness in this life. And he will often do one-word drops or have you thought about this questions, and I stand there going, yeah, I missed that, thank you. And something that's beautiful about having crystals and stones and having the availability of all of these energies that Mother Earth gives us access to is that we can use them. We can learn to use their energies. We can learn to use the magic, the energy, and the connection to Earth herself to help regulate and vibrationally match what we need and honor the love and the beauty in someone else. And I will say on the medicine of this card, years and years and years ago, I had a conversation in one of my classes, and this woman had joined one of my classes. This is probably back, this is at least like 99, 98, 99. I can't remember what year it was, but I remember the question in class. She had asked the question in class, how do I draw to me my soulmate? And in that moment, I came to the realization that I really need to really talk to people about how faulty that vocabulary is. And she was attracting to herself all of these men who were verbally abusive and alcoholic and having drug problems and very toxic. And one of the things that we talked about in that class was you have to love yourself. You have to go into that shadow and find out why you're not loving yourself to be able to have that mirrored back in a relationship in a healthy way. And that was probably the second shadow work class I taught. But it was the longest shadow work class I have ever done. It was a good 6-8 month. Once a week we got together and we worked on shadow stuff. And we worked through, if I remember correctly, it was a spring equinox to fall equinox cycle of shadow. And it was amazing. And the woman in question actually met her longtime partner the next spring because she continued to do the work. And as far as I know, they're still together. So that's the cards for today. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I will see you we'll see, but in theory, I'll be back tomorrow as well live, and we will see you in prayer. Have a blessed day, my friends. Astra came up and sat in the lap, so she's been listening and looking at the screen, and she's amazing. Have a beautiful day, my friends, and I will see you in prayer tomorrow. Blessed be.